Alright guys, Stampede VXL here, and this is going to be a video on how to make your RC surface product. It can be a buggy, truggy, monster truck, sedan, touring car, anything like that, faster. This is strictly going to be how you can make it faster. And yep, let's just get to it. Well, basically the easiest way to make it faster is to put a brushless motor in it. And that's a little more expensive route. You can get, for 10 scales, I like the Valenion VXL system, but they also sell Sidewinder or Mambas or Novak, stuff like that, and Acceleron from Lozy. But I like the Valenion because it was a low price point, high performance, and good customer care. If you're a racer, you would probably want to go with the E-maxx or Sidewinder. If you're a basher, Valenion probably. And Novak's kind of like, I don't really like Novak, but that's kind of the in-between point basher and racer. They have their ballistic motors are pretty good though. But yeah, so your brushless motor will make your car faster, but in order to have that, you have to have the ESC with it. And the companies sell that in combos. They sell the motor by itself, ESC by itself. So you're all set if you want to just go the more expensive route. The next obvious way to do it is by upgrading your battery. Now, if you're upgrading your battery, you want to look at voltage. Voltage is going to be what's going to make your car go faster. Milliamps is going to be what makes your car run longer. If you're looking at NIMH, strictly voltage. All you want to do is look at voltage if you're worried about speed. If you're worried about runtime, you want to look at the MAH. For LiPos, it's a different story. LiPos, for a 2-cell, for example, it might say 7.2 volts. And you're saying, wow, well, a 2-cell is 7.4 volts, my bad. And wow, a 6-cell is 7.2 volts. It's 0.2 of a volt less. I can't make that much of a difference. Well, it does. 7.4 volts for a 2S LiPo is the constant rate that it's going to go at. This is how LiPos go at us. Let me try and get. This is basically what LiPo do in their runtime. They go straight, and then they just drop once they have no milliamps left. NIM batteries, they'll just gradually decrease, which means you're going to get less power as the longer time you run. But with LiPos, you might have like that little drop down, but you're relatively going to be running at a constant rate. Now that's the good thing about LiPos. You can have a lot. That's basically the ideal battery you want to get for your brushless motor. And if you want to stick stock with your brushed ESC and motor, you can get a LiPo cutoff like one that Novak sells. But basically, if you want to get a LiPo battery, you want to look at voltage, C rating, and C rating. C rating is basically the capacity level, and the higher that is, the more punch there's going to be, and it's going to just feel like a lot better battery. It's going to respond a lot better. It's really good for common 10 scale systems. Racers usually go for 7.4 volts. That's usually what's only allowed at races, and then bashers usually go for 11.1 volts or 3-cell LiPo. If you want to hit those high speeds, like really high speeds, go with the 3S 11.1. But if you're racing, you probably want to go with the 7.4 volt, just because it's a lot less. It's a relatively like 30-40 bucks less expensive. And if you go with the 3-cell, you're gonna be like, your tires are just gonna be spinning, and you're gonna be spinning out. You're not gonna get the grip that most tracks, and the 11.1 is gonna offer way too much power that most tracks can't handle, because they're not gonna be big enough for you to put that power down. So 7.4 volts is really the ideal setup for a racer. On to the next step, and this is something that a lot of people don't understand. So far we've covered motors and batteries, and also with LiPo batteries you would have to get a separate LiPo charger, and you would want to balance that also, but I'll go into that in a future video. Gears. this is something that a lot of people don't know too much about, or at least I don't think they know. Metal gears might be stronger, but they weigh more, which means a lot more rotating mass, which will decrease in speed. Right now I have a steel differential, steel idler gear, steel drive gear, to a plastic spur gear. Now let's say I went to a steel or aluminum spur gear. That's gonna make the system a lot louder, a lot less efficient, and a lot slower. The lower the sound is of the transmission, the more efficient it is. That's basically the general rule of thumb, that the louder it is, the less efficient it is. And basically the main reason it's louder is because you're having metal to metal contact. Now the spur gear, it's a very expensive piece, it's easy to replace, and it's readily available. This is $3. I can always get it. It's always available. It's $3. It's a good part to have plastic, but if you want to put your differential, idle gear, or drive gear plastic, you're gonna have to go through, unscrew all these screws, open it up, replace it, especially the differential. That's probably the one thing that you don't want to have, plastic. So having the plastic spur gear connected to all those metal things, it's a good basher setup. If you really just want to be strong, if you want your car to be strong, you don't care about like efficiency, you just want it to be strong, go with the idler gear. But eventually, let me warn you, you're gonna be burning something, because metal to metal contact, nothing will give, and then eventually everything will give. So that will not be good. And you always want to have a metal or a hardened steel spur gear from your motor. But yeah, if you're looking for the most efficient, plastic. You can have one steel for durability, but plastic is gonna give you the most runtime, the most power, the most efficiency. It's gonna be a lot quieter and a lot more speed. So just depends on what you want to do. If you're running brush just like on the street, go with all plastic. You'll be fine. If you're a basher with brushed, you can get away with maybe like a plastic idler gear and a plastic spur gear, or no, a plastic differential. But if you're a brushless basher, this is probably the setup you're going to want to go with. Also, if you're a brushless racer, same setup. The next thing that can make your car faster is the weight, obviously. Now, weight for RC cars is a very crucial thing. With the Rustler and the Stampede, they basically use the same parts. There's a couple of parts here and there that they don't share, but they basically share a bunch of similar parts. Now, if you've researched a little bit on the Rustler and Stampede, you'll see that Traxxas advertises 35 miles per hour for the Rustler. Let me go over here and get it out. Traxxas, they advertise 35 miles per hour for this car and 30 miles per hour for this car. Now the reason why it is the Rustler over here, it's a lot lighter. Well, actually, correction, it's not a lot lighter. It's a lot more stabler, but you can get it to the high speeds, and it's also at the same time a little bit lighter by about 4 or 5 ounces. Now, also stuff has to do with like pinion gears, and we'll get into that later in this video. But weight is a big way. It's a big thing that affects your whole speed, and basically the main plastic you want to use is RPM. RPM is really the best, the lightest, and the strongest. It's for the Rustler, Stampede, Slash, and Bandit. It's all available. So I'll get into this in the next video. Check it out. Alright, bye.